think we should.
All right, David, another beautiful start to a week. You're down in beautiful Brazil. We were just talking before we went live, getting a little bit of rain, but it looks absolutely stunning down there as always. How you doing?
Doing just great, Sean. Actually, perfect, and I like to say perfect, but that kind of turns some people off. I don't know why.
Not me, brother. I'm good with that.
All right, we're doing
100%.
perfect here. Well, today is Monday in February the 3rd in the year 2025, which right now, the push right now for these daily broadcasts, for me, anyways, as like the chair, committee chair, master of ceremonies, whatever, everything. For me, the push is this February 21st coming up here very shortly. So every day during the 1st of February until the 21st is really preparing for this date of with destiny. And we've talked about Tony Robbins and how he actually puts on a similar type of an event for I think 5 days, not 8 days and 7 nights, and not really quite what we're offering in the sense we're not like renting a big ballroom and having 1,000 people at the Ritz Carlton or something. I mean, this is a natural conference talking about natural healing. So the February 21st to the March 1st, the 8 days and 7 nights is the hibernation festival. So we've been talking back and forth about how does that actually really be a catalyst or a real like fixed focus, a common vision, purpose, mission, milestone, a closing, because we can close that at the end of March 1st. Once that ends, whenever we determine the ceremony's over, we close the ceremony. That those 8 days and 7 nights are all recorded. So I think it's 192 hours, I believe, 24 times 8. And so this is almost 200 hours. Plus, it's going to be linked directly with these podcasts that we're having in preparation for the actual festival. So when we're talking with individuals like today, we have two individuals, and I'm going to just briefly mention their names and such. They've been invited. One's from India, and the other one's from the United States here, I believe in North Carolina or somewhere around where Sean is there on the East Coast. Anyways, what we're doing is each one of these episodes we're trying to keep to 1 hour so that we can then eat very easily with no real edits. It's basically cut and ship, and kind of cut and package and make a meme or a poem, a short poem or some statement or something that's going to drive people. That's the whole purpose of this World Impact News and the WIN network. The WIN is we. It's the we network where we all win. There are no losers. So like there's a show. Do you remember? I don't think it was back in like the 1990s, late or 2000. It was India. It's about India actually. It's an interesting show to weave into this conversation. Do you remember the movie called Slumdog Millionaire?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. That
power,
was
powerful movie
great
about
movie.
what can happen when you're authentic. You're coming from really deep poverty and all sorts of horrors, and they show it. We know with these things, these are happening even worse now. But it's interesting because really that's what this whole thing is about. How do we all become millionaires in the sense that we don't have that constraint and that fear that, oh my God, I'm doing something, I'm wasting my time. Like people listening to these episodes now, I think it's 15 episodes. We're going to be going forever anyways, but eventually the platform will change. Maybe the time changes, don't know, but 10 o'clock Eastern time is good for me. For the most part, it's only an hour or 2 hour difference all year. And actually, we're trying to make a proposal to have one time zone for all of the Americas, including the Caribbean. So that's the idea, is to actually put it into one time platform. That way the computer doesn't have those calculations. Those are complicated when you're planning meetings and stuff like that. If everyone's on a different time, and we talked about that, Sean, in this broadcast, what we're doing with health and technology and how that's all integrated, it's all time based, but it's got so very small. That's what the quantum is all about. You can't measure it. You don't know when the clock starts ticking, but it does. And when it does, If you're calm and you're in the flow, life is easy for everybody.
Hmm.
So everyone is a slum dog, right? We all are slum dogs, and we decide as a society what like a universal basic income is all about, for example, which is not really for me a good idea to have a government proposing like a minimum wage or whatever, or even Elon Musk saying, "Oh, he doesn't want a minimum wage, he wants a maximum wage." I kind of agree with that, but even then, why even limit the maximum? If somebody's like abusive and you're gaining these credits, these are all tokenized credits, electronic instruments. Call it Bitcoin, call it time coin, either money or time. We talked about those alternatives now. Whatever it is, it's an instrument. It's a zero or a one. It's all it is. And every time when you transact your time, like right now, we're on for 10 minutes. These are holograms, so we can go right back into your office. That's why when we do the labeling and stuff, the search engines, the words that we use in the title of these episodes is what drives people to the World Impact News Network, the WIN network, ultimately, and then goes to the Sean Callahan show if you want something like that, like a late night show or a Saturday Night Live, or we're going to be doing like Soul Train. We're going to do Soul Island. I teach shadow dancing. We're going to make it fun. We're going to bring the high vibe love tribe. We're going to bring Jesse into it and his girlfriend. Eventually, they're going to come down. See, we're visioning together now. We're dragon dreaming. There's nothing negative about it. Doesn't mean that, you need to do anything other than what you want to do. And that apparently you're committed. Taking a Sunday off is very reasonable. Taking whatever off is reasonable if that's what you want to do. Eventually, you could delegate, and like Riley, who we don't really know yet publicly. We haven't introduced really other people. You've seen some people peripherally, and like today, the ocean is a little bit rough. Not rough, but it's cloudy and it's not pleasant. It feels like rain again. So this time of the year, during hibernation, we don't really have a choice. You're inside the house most of the time. And when you're on an island like this, we have a very small house. So if you get like four people and we got to be together, you really understand who you're with pretty quickly, especially if they smoke cigarettes and you run out of
Oh,
cigarettes. That's the
man, that's
first thing.
funny.
It's not even the alcohol or anything else. It's cigarettes. And
Oh,
they'll kill each
yeah.
other for the last freaking cigarette.
I can feel the tension just with you saying that. It's like the last one.
Oh, I mean, I've been in the room. They're going to kill each other,
Yeah.
literally. And then if they're here alone with me, they don't speak English. Normally, what they do is they in the middle of the night or something, they take a canoe or stand up paddle and they go and they don't come back. So the cigarettes is, people say, David, why are you having such a hard time doing the stuff that you do? It's, to be on an island is not quite the fantasy land that most people are accustomed to, like in a city or something. But now we have the ability, we have that flexibility. So we can, I'm not just saying everyone come to nature. We need to weave that. And that's what this is all about, the weaving. And that's why today's show with Eric Mathis from Victory Gardens Alliance in the United States is so important, with Professor Goswami, who's a professor. I don't know exactly. I think he's in entrepreneurship, empowerment, that type of stuff. Also dabbles, because of India's spirituality and things. There's a holistic model that he has that is a community garden project for all of India. So he already has isolated like 1,000 locations where they can actually go in and not own the land. These are land leases that they put the land to functional use. And most of it is growing good food and rehabilitating the soil. And that's why Dr. Goswami and Eric are so well aligned. And these connections are so perfectly timed because Eric does coal mining rehabilitation of these states in the United States that have, like Dr. David Bohem, for example, we mentioned in the 1950s around the development of the bomb. Dr. David Bohem was from Pennsylvania. And that's, I believe, where a lot of the work that Eric Mathis is doing is in that area of Appalachian Mountains. And so this is how we weave, and this is what we're trying to help people understand, Sean. And that's the takeaway with these 1 hours or so that we do. Sometimes we carry a little bit over, but eventually we're going to fine tune it more and more. And we're going to have preparation. Like, instead of me making long, drawn out, wordy introductions, we're going to have these search engine words so that when people go back to listen to the tape, they don't have to listen to everything. It's like um, what is it called? Cliff notes, like a
Yeah.
cliff notes. This is what in Wikipedia and stuff like that. And there's other programs that are actually doing this. I just don't know them. But that's the purpose of having this hub of innovation, because as well as I'm bringing these people like Dr. Goswami right now and Eric Mathis, who potentially they're all involved with health, and the health is food and soil quality and water and the plasma water, and then the energy is transmitted however you want to do that. How do you capture it, transmit it, distribute it, and whatever, that's irrelevant. So our whole how we weave together is this hibernation festival. And Eric can be like, what we need to do is come together, try to do a little bit of planning, but leave it open so there's no scripts. But we need to make certain reservations. I need to work with the hotels and stuff so that when people call, basically they're going to call me and you, Sean. Eventually, I think we need to distribute that maybe into India, like a call center. Like, maybe this is where Dr. Goswami can come in, or maybe Eric has access to some type of service like that, where, in an event, we don't have to take on all of those, frequently asked questions and whatever. If it's important that they want to talk to you directly, you can include that, and then you can answer the phone, or you can just send them back a message. How to do it electronically or personally. I do it personally. That's my promise and my pledge to people. And that no matter whatever, if I am famous in the sense that I'm demanded, I'm still going to answer people. If I have to stay up even later at night, like what you do, Sean, that type of quality, that type of value statement, that each and every time when we come together, it's like tennis. If we play well, we're out there. It's not easy. It's challenging, but we're not like hitting the ball over the fence and there's, like
Yeah.
dogs not barking. It's like it's a calm way of just having fun together.
Yeah.
And so, there's so much, it's one of the things for me, it's very difficult to quiet down. Like on these 1 hours, keep in mind, I'm on an island. I didn't see anybody really all morning. The dog, the chickens, they tell you when they're ready to eat and whatever. The birds are singing. But, for me, there's anxiety. I have anxiety to get this out. But I promise to the world and you, Sean, also that, it's going to become less and less, and it's going to be more specific. You're going to guide, instead of basically asking, who's on the show today. That's already,
Yeah. We're
exactly
we're
who it
getting
is.
there. We're
Yeah,
definitely
with
getting
that.
there.
Yeah,
And
that's where we're trying to go. So if anyone's out there that wants to join, in this startup, what we're offering, it's very simple. It's 20% equity, and it's a time equity program. So 1 hour when you work, you get one credit. And if you transact 5 of those credits, you get one bonus. And that's where the 20% is. That's the equity. So if you create time 24 hours a day, you can see how you can collect these bonus credits. And you don't have to work, obviously, 24/7. We're not suggesting that for anybody, but if there's a reason and you want to do it, I mean, we do it in college and stuff all the time. I've done it, many, and I'm sure you have as well as people listening. So anyways, Professor and Eric are not on with us at this point. Nobody's on.
that Professor Goswami, that was Adriano's kind of protege, so to speak. That that when Adrian,
Actually, yeah, actually, I don't want to interrupt Sean, but that's a different Goswami.
oh, that's a different Goswami. Okay.
Yeah, I made that error. Actually, it was an error when I contacted Professor. I thought it was actually Amit, and he explained it wasn't Amit, but then he explained that he's his project. He sent me, and then I was like, I don't want to say I fell in love with Professor, but we've had these conversations that haven't really been recorded. And that's why today is really the first time. I don't want to say I'm pinning people down, but what we say and what we do and how we're expressing our intelligence, it can and will be held against each and every one of us in the court of law, in the court of ethics and morality. And so when we bring people together, I'm calling all of these people, let's do it. Okay. And then, okay, what is it? Let's get through this week, the February 21st to March 1st Hibernation Festival. Let's focus on that. Take little clips and make your own flyer. And basically you sell these credits, these time credits. So and you transfer money electronically into from the money to the time market, and you can broker, and everyone can do this, and there are no fees and taxation and things like that. It's not a mining. This is not cryptocurrency, Sean. And this is why, like when Fabiano Diaz, I think he's scheduled for tomorrow or coming up. He was on the last show on Saturday, but he only spoke for a few minutes. He's an expert with the crypto, and so am I. Actually, the first year that crypto came, at least it wasn't when they first the idea originated, but when they came to Brazil and they wanted to really market in Latin America. I had the president of the Latin American operations working directly with whoever. We don't even still know who really the owner is, nor do we really need to.
Yeah.
But what we do need to know is like with another common interest friend that Mel Carmine and his project coming up in March, which is a segue. Our festival actually links into now. I think I have 5 or 6 festivals that are coming up later in March and going into April and also September and October. So when we start looking at how we're gonna actually send out and deliver our message, we have a path we can follow. All these conferences, and some of them are very expensive, in the tens of twenties of thousands of dollars per person, without the airfare. And this is just to go to the event. And this is usually with like nations around the world, like France and Saudi Arabia and London and the UK and other places, Singapore and Philippines and Brazil also. But in Latin America, there's really I'm not saying they don't understand the science, the quantum and the spirituality is here. For me, it's as equal as it is in any other place in the world. Although Catholic faith here is like, I think 70 or 80%. So, but that doesn't mean that there's people that, I mean, I call myself Catholic. You know, I'm confirmed and an altar boy. So I'm not one or the other right now. This is about the integration of everything that we have. And that's why people here in Brazil are so open for some festival like this. And this is going to be very successful. It's going to be the first year. And our budget, we don't have a budget basically. But if we can talk a little bit as people come on, like Eric and Professor, that's really what we're going to lead to is during this 8 days, what time can you come on and actually do a very targeted interview? And weave it and spend time in preparation. I can do most of that, like data analysis and weaving, because that's what I do. I'm a data weaver and a data miner and a time changer. And these are terms that other people like you and everyone else says, what the hell is this guy talking about? These are terms. All jobs are going to be these classifications. That's what we're going to do is we're going to data mine intelligence and also energy and water and everything comes from the data first. And we know this. And this is where Eric comes in the work that's Eric's doing. He's involved directly with Bobby Kennedy and the issues right now and for the confirmation. And everyone knows what's going on with all of that. So Eric's connection is a political connection that they're leveraging for these victory gardens to try to live out the legacy of basically John F. Kennedy in trying to create these places around the world where Americans, have that loving compassion and the impact where, we're bringing what everything we have. We're not limiting anything. We're not competing. That's the idea of victory gardens. It's not one party or over another. It's about our unity. And that's what John F. Kennedy was about. And apparently there's issues. Our society wasn't really prepared for that type of authenticity and honesty, right? And we know what happened. So thank God that we're now in a different era where, like for me, I can do this stuff and nobody really knows. My wife, for example, who I don't really bring into any of this very often, she has her privacy. So she's already said if I violate her independence or her ID, and I put words in her mouth, that I'm going to be seeing a judge and maybe jail. I mean? I mean, so, but somebody, I don't need to go down that road. I don't think any of us do. So, but if we are successful, like a 60 minutes, 24/7, 60 minutes type of format, like I think we can, she could be on the show. Whether she does it voluntarily or whether she wants to be paid for that is a different story. Because, if other people come on, there's going to be all sorts of ways that people are going to transact, and it's all time based. So that's the nice part. If anybody does anything when they're working together with this Welandia micronation, it's in the We Nos applicativo. How you actually access the administration. It's an app called We Nos, and so it's all app driven. There is only a small physicality, which is this antenna that we broadcast this quantum radio scalar wave signal. And these are the type of signals that Sean, you talk about and you exhibit there in your showcase there in Virginia and Richmond. And so that's the E system and other are using these resonant sound, resonant vibrations in tones and light, in the biophotonic light, and all these areas are all integrated now. And that's why, for somebody like me, people say, how do you know all of this stuff? And the easy question, or easy way to answer that question, Sean, I just kept going in my life. I'm 60 years old. I think I had 60 different jobs. So I started work, I think at like 12 or 13. I wanted to be productive. I wanted to find out what's going on. So if you do the math, I didn't stay in a job very long. And that's why I got divorced. Because when I had kids, my wife was like, get a fucking job, will you please? you know? So, you know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
and so the experience when we kind of transitional people, like virtual nomads, there's a lot of value in that type of person. It's an archetype, and that's what Joseph Campbell talks about, and also Amit Goswami you mentioned, as far as the work he does with quantum physics and spirituality. That's what it's all about. So it's about the archetype. It's the characters that we take on. And if we're actually mirroring our expression in conscious awareness, there's no energy loss. It's circular, it's sustainable, and it doesn't feel like a burden, or it doesn't feel like a high vibe love tribe. I mean, we don't have to be jumping around like Tony Robbins at a date with destiny to get to engage with people. Once we train people very quickly, this event on the 21st is a Friday, on the 21st of 2025. And when people come here physically, you can get adjusted in that 20 seconds. In 20 seconds, Sean, when people come here, they're just blown away. Really, their mind is like, it's wonderful. It's not like scary, like like some poltergeist or something. You know what I'm saying? I
Yeah.
mean, but no, it's surprising to me that nobody's on. I don't know. Let me just try to check to see if I can go backwards and see if somebody sent the message here. And if I lose you, just let me know.
You're good, man.
Okay. Harakat says he's standing in the room. He's standing by.
I'm wondering if they got the wrong link, maybe.
I don't know. I'm just. It's big Y point one at the end. Big Y
Yeah.
point one. Yeah, that's the proper link.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
but
mean, that's the one we're on.
yeah. Well, I mean, right now, I don't know what the technical errors are, what we're going through. Harakat, we spoke with on one of the episodes, I think on Saturday, the 1st of February, a couple of days ago. And that's what we're trying to do, Sean. Like I said, it's not about us like throwing out like these like vomiting like so much information. What we're trying to do is really show the audience and show your clients and stuff how sensitive this business development is, because you have to educate and then you have to build trust, and then you have to service, you have to supply service, you got the whole life cycle, and then you want repeat customer loyalty and all of the quality assurance of customer service and guarantees and
Oh, we got
warranties.
somebody on. Harakat is here. Harakat, welcome back.
Hey, how are you guys?
Good. How you doing?
Pretty good, pretty good.
Well,
Yeah.
we've been on here now almost 30 minutes. So Professor has not joined us, and also the other gentleman, Eric Mathis from Victory Gardens Alliance in the United States. I don't know what's going on with both. I don't. Both said that they were going to be here, so it could happen that they pop on. But let's continue for the sake that we're trying to keep this to 1 hour. If they do pop on, if we have to extend, Sean, are you okay to run over a little bit over time? How are you looking
10, 15 minutes? I'm good.
Okay. Well,
I've
we'll
shared
try
the
to.
link. I've shared the
Yeah.
link with Professor Goswami right now, so if he's available, he'll pop on. I know he has a few issues with technology, but I'm sure he'll figure it out.
Well, yeah, whatever. We're not stressed in that way in any way, Harakat, because we stay in the moment of now. So there's a reason for everything, and it's always very beautiful. And thank you so much for being here and being a witness and sharing this time with Sean and I. It does make it more dynamic than just me going blah 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 and Sean listening, and maybe once in a while, eventually we're going to try to turn some of that around where I do most of the listening. But right now, for you, Harakat, and for people listening, you were already on the show. We introduced you some of the concepts, some of the work you're doing with the Venus Project, and also with Professor Goswami, who is in India. And the project is the GlobCal, GLOBCal Green Mission, and it's a project that is quite long in its history as far as intellectual property and really net weaving and making those relationships happen. But ultimately, as we've talked about many of these projects, if not all that I know, it always comes to the financial ability to allocate resources so that you can get more people and expand and get more influence, whether it be lobbying. It's a form of lobbying in a way, because you got to win over the people of India. And that's where like Eric's coming in here with the alliance that is really the Victory Garden Alliance, is from the Kennedy family. It was really, I was talking before we came on a few importance of what happened with the Victory Garden concept and movement. It was a movement based in the United States, but an outreach program that was to touch and to show compassion around the world by building these community gardens that ultimately are in the master plan, and all of the concepts are drawn and well defined. And Dr. Goswami has tried like many of us, well, pretty much everyone I know, to get that message out, to really push that or discover that missing link, that one last thing that actually ignites the key. You got to put the key in the engine, and then after you do that, you got to turn the key. And that is engineering magic for most engineers, like mechanical, electrical engineers, robotics, AI now, and all this other stuff. How these things are done are really non-definable. They are
Hey, David,
quantum level.
Mr. Goswami, how you doing, sir? Thank you for joining us. He just jumped on, David. Professor Goswami's here.
Great. Hello, Professor.
Are you hearing me?
Yes.
Acha. Very good. But I think if I could hear more, then I could guess what I am. How am I to start?
Well, first of all, I have to say before anybody starts, anybody with the name Goswami is always going to be someone that I can't wait to talk to because as somebody that's very familiar with Vedic literature, I'm very familiar with the seven Goswamis. And so I've known many of the Goswamis that are basically sharing knowledge, literature, and all these amazing things. So thank you so much for being on with us today. And David can probably give you a better introduction.
Yes, I can. And I just want to say thank you, uh, Professor. You know, a lot of trust. Just very briefly, because I did mention some basic issues involving the work you're doing with the GlobCal and the Green Mission. And so we don't need to dive too deep into the conversation right now for today. The real purpose of making the introduction and reaching out to you, Professor, from day one has been to build that bridge, that trust. Not I'm in Brazil, I'm an American, Sean's in the United States. So, and Eric is also in the United States. So today's meeting is about the triangle between the United States, India, and Brazil. And we know what's going on with the BRICS and South Africa and all these other kind of changes to these agreements. And it seems like the United States is really in a position where, I don't know, the geopolitics of it all are really nasty, because people like Sean and I and other patriots and other people that were raised like in our age group, the baby boomers, at the end of the baby boomers, our whole, I'm not speaking for Sean or anybody. I'm saying culturally, we went through wars and stuff, and we were that generation where we were aware of that suffering, because when you're in it, you're living it. So, but after, when you see films and stuff, and and some films are not proper because it's really not the truth. But see, now today we have these technologies of 5D and AI that are a real-time processor with no energy consumption, actually regenerative systems. And we know all of these things exist. And related specifically to the work that you're doing, Professor, in India with the gardens, with the GlobCal Green Mission, which we spoke about, is ultimately, you can talk at some point towards the end here, but I'm trying to let people know that are listening to this, and also Sean, the delicacy of making this type of connection right now. What we are talking about is the fine neurological, would call it the telomeres on the DNA and RNA. We're trying to be like that. Okay, here. That's the soul currency. We talked with one other person. I remember, actually, it was Victor Hugo Vaga the second on Saturday, and he talked about soul currency. And that's the spirit, I believe, of what is missing with the project in India in Dr. Goswami. And he's looking for the currency, but what I'm trying to say is that currency is actually labor. These gardens require people right now. I mean, we can have robots. We've proven that. We're already developing various systems in China, mostly in China, and they're actually doing the farming and planting and, automated. It's very complex, and it's not defined. It's not as efficient as a human. Any human that has love, unconditional love, when you're working a garden, you're breathing that love, that circular energy. And so that's why, places that are sanctuaries, like refuge, and that are these portals, these areas of protection, like this island where I am, and for the hibernation festival, that's what people do, is they come here. And most of the time, if they're going to spend extensive period, like a month or 6 months, you sleep. You, I, you don't think you could sleep that much? I guarantee you can. Some people, they stay in bed for 3 days, 4 days, and you don't see them, and they don't get up, and they don't pee or anything. So,
David,
the things that we know scientifically, what we're trying to do is bring Eric in Dr. Goswami together, Sean, and your work in India, in the hospitals and the healthcare are all related. That's why we're here. So in Harakat, primarily right now, I think that Dr. Goswami, if you can maybe say a few words. Okay, I don't think Eric's going to join us, but we can pass that information. And then Sean, if you want to guide, and then perhaps we can schedule with Harakat and Dr. Goswami another like real directed where I'm not doing that talking and kind of defining, how all of this is happening. But this is very important in information because I think that this is the value that what people in the future, Sean, are going to come back and say, you know what, that was a question that I had. How does somebody just reach out to another person in India and gain their confidence to the point where right now Dr. Goswami is going to be talking authentically, openly, and I'm not saying begging. He's not a beggar. He's an intelligent man. What we need is unity. And so if we're compassionate, go ahead, Dr. Goswami. I think we're ready to listen to your message. Okay. I apologize for being a little bit overworded with what's going on. And I think you understand. Okay. Go ahead. Go ahead. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. But I must ask apology from you as I have joined lately. I was very quickly got arrested by someone over phone. I couldn't reject it. So sorry for that. And Harakat is present, I think.
Yes. Yes,
Very
he's
good.
here.
Very good. Very good.
Yes,
If he
I
is
am
there,
here.
I get more inspired. He's very enthusiastic, young and very intelligent and very dedicated. Everything is in him. So
Well, thank you.
our approach is something bottom up. Just to start from the bottom, maybe the smallest unit of governance we call here in India panchayat, the smallest unit of governance. How to make one unit, the smallest unit of governance, free from unemployment while addressing issues of environment and food security. This is our approach. And connecting with the education system, we have a great educationist who started one kind of unique kind of university here in India more than a century ago. It dealt with, from its very initiation, it dealt with education, ecology, and employment. So robust was, so bold was his approach in those days. Just we can get some indication from him, some suggestion from him, and we can start something new. We don't want to make one school, college, or university, though I am associated with building one, but we want to reverse it. So far, the education system was like that. We put the cart we put the horse behind, and the cart was in the front, but we did not notice it so far. Now we would like to put the horse ahead in the front and let it go. How to let it go? We are now contemplating on that. Self-employment, self-reliance of a community will be our main objective. How to make it? Just starting one kind of enterprise which will connect, one kind of enterprise that will connect each and every one, not the first day, maybe gradually, but within no time, within a year or so, each and every one will get involved around with this initiative, one kind of social initiative. Socio-spiritual adventure is here. So how to make it done? It is a long history. We have made few proposals so far. Just like a proposal it was made, but we have something more to carry on, more to do, more to explore with this some sort of general approach, general proposal. But it is, the proposal is not itself so much unique one. You can find this type of proposal everywhere. But it is our starting point. How to include each and everyone, how to get inspired by the promise of inclusion, power of love. And also, we will see how a business can go on rightly. We will not be indifferent to the business part also. We should not, we never, we should never be indifferent to this type of business. Business should be there. But in India, it's a highly populated country, but in the hilly region, it is very big region from Pakistan to Myanmar. It's a long, maybe 3,000 kilometer long, and maybe somewhere it is 1,000, 2,000, maybe the breadth is 1 to 2,000 kilometers. So this huge area is mostly more than 60% area is lying vacant. China, Pakistan, none has grabbed it. But our consciousness can't reach there. So it is now lying vacant. And the we call it agroforestry. Agriculture and forestry can go side by side. Those that compatible trees can be there with the farmland. We know, but we can't do it. We have the largest arable land in the world, but 57% of that we don't have, of that farmland, we don't have agroforestry there. We should have at least 1/3 or 1/4 we can cover with agroforestry. And 27% land in India, such a populated country, is vacant. The wayside, the rail side, the river side. So in so many areas are lying vacant. But we could grow fruit forest there, but we can't do it. As we don't have one country, we are divided with so many us and them. The most heinous us and them is today the political parties. So we want to touch each and every one of a community, small community, where we will dislodge, or we will refuse to take any division, refuse to accept any division. Each one will be connected with that, but it should be away from the hustles and bustles of the city life, maybe 100 kilometers away from big city. It should be. So we can start something there. Now we are going to start one university, but it is on the hand of the central government. They are planning for doing something big, but we are suggesting them to do something else, something reverse. Start from that activity which can make the community around it free from unemployment. So, and what kind of education or training the people need, we will go on getting them. And in that way, we will reinforce the existing education system lying there. So we need not establish a big university by spending much money. We are having so many things. We are having so many resources, but we don't have the eye to see it. We are missing. If we want to see something, it needs to open the eye. But sometimes to see betterly, more better, then we need to close our eyes and see better, see in a better way. So in that case, we can see huge land is unused, hand or labor force is unused, and so many schemes are there. Maybe hundreds of schemes, good schemes are there. They are misutilized, unutilized. Everywhere it is. We need to make them connected. We need to make a profound togetherness in the grassroots community. So it is one kind of activity, outer activity. It is one kind of spiritual adventure also. uh, Outer or real world activity should be there side by side. One sort of spiritual activity should be there, by which we can get to know that uh, 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 this is going to serve me better when I am serving others. Others are a part of mine. There is everything me to mine. You, there is a gap from me to mine. By we have to understand that we have to expand ourselves from me to mine. When we start from me, it is a very dangerous area. When we have a leap, then we can find everything is mine. My village, my country, my world, my universe. And the expansion of I, two types of I are there. So extension of I is very much needed. So our movement is very much real world movement and a little bit spiritual also. I think I should stop here and ask you question. If you have any question, I can go on answering them, or I can go on making conversation with you. I can know better what you think, go on thinking. That would be great.
That's amazing. Thank you so much. And it's really nice that Haircut has been with us before. And so, Professor, I think that, for us, it's about giving a platform to people like you and Haircut. That's really what we're here for you to express your mission, what you're trying to do, and try to find connections for you to help make that happen faster and put these beautiful projects together. And so to summarize, you're basically looking for ways that you can take all this open space, primarily right now, India, but we could do it all over the world, and then increase the amount of forestation and increase the amount of gardens and put all this vacant land to use. And that is just absolutely amazing. Now, what is it? I do also like what you said about the universities, where I think if I follow you right, you don't need the big brick and mortar. You just need the funding to get the people trained. Maybe the training actually begins going into the villages and doing the projects and not sitting in a classroom where you really are, really in the whole mix of it. That's where the education is being in the land and on the project. So do you have projects right now that you've started? Where is the organization at with that whole process? And how can we help you advance that and do more?
We have some organizations who are assisting us. We have, and we are now also waiting for joining the university system there in other state where the university is getting established. We are now going to stop them from doing it and restart it from anew, just how to make it a new one. So now the conversation is going on. We have one organization, few organizations we have. We can take that an organization with us, which can deliver everything. So Harakat can add here something. If he speaks something, I would be very glad.
Awesome. Thank you.
Y-
Yeah, Harikat, let's get back into that. Let's talk about that.
Now, have you more questions? If you have more questions to me, I can answer them, try to answer them.
Yeah, I think what we can do maybe is we'll let Harikat do some talking, and then we'll get back to you also, Professor, if that's okay.
Okay, that would be fine.
Um, right. So kind of to follow up on that question, which is like, what is happening in practice? So to kind of encapsulate what Professor Goswami said about the the entire thing is. I guess from the outside looking in, because it's quite a multifaceted project with a lot of moving parts, touching on education, grassroots development, which I want to say a few things about, and also a spiritual path of public service. From the outside looking in, without like scraping away all the complexity, what it looks like is eco-village development, like an eco-village development project for the development of agroforests in order to increase public health by, providing people fresh food in a sustainable manner. So I guess that's kind of like the corpo speak of like what does it do, but more importantly, it's a grassroots development. So it's there is something to all this which is self-reliance. What GlobCal Green Mission seeks is not like money from not a handout, not money from Western Europe or the United States to come into the country to run some sort of a handout project, which will eventually dissipate when the funding ends, but instead to kickstart a something that's going to allow people to help themselves by working together from the grassroots to take unutilized lands or underutilized lands and then building upon them eco-forests and communities and educational facilities to then carry the project forward. And not just in India, but eventually outward into perhaps elsewhere for it to be emulated by other nations or other communities in other parts of the world. So that's like to encapsulate everything. That's what it is. It is the taking unutilized and underutilized resources to help people help themselves by coming together on a spiritual path of public service to then build, you know, self-reliant and resilient communities. Um, and I guess that's how I would define it. Now, as far as how we achieve this, that's where some of the technical complexity comes in because although this is something that is grassroots and self-reliant, these kinds of initiatives don't materialize out of nowhere. And Professor Goswami touched on the business aspect, which is we can't neglect the business aspect. For communities to succeed, they have to be able to merge with the general economy, with the global economy, with global markets, in order to, for example, sell handicrafts or access the global market to sell, whatever, potatoes or some sort of agricultural surplus, in order to then bring more money in to keep the community running. And yeah, this is sort of like where that sort of complexity comes in. And one of the things I like about my work in pushing these initiatives, and especially with GlobCal Green Mission, is meeting the various people around the world who are also like-minded and interested in these things. Interested in in being able to create these alternative systems that exist parallel to our market economy. Also, like just something earlier, because I don't want to misrepresent myself. I know David said that I am a part of the Venus Project. That is not the case. I was once part of the Venus Project. I took a step back. The Venus Project is a very important institution, but it is an educational institution that educates people about resource-based economics, which is uh, in lockstep with what we're trying to achieve, which is an alternative economic model to increase public health. Because the capitalist system, it has achieved a lot of great things, but it is now an outdated economic model. Right now, it's a system that runs on continuous consumption. It's a system that is based on the idea of infinite growth. So, firms have to keep growing. Apple can't stop with iPhone 10. They have to make the 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 ad infinitum, regardless of whether or not the iPhone 17 is needed or not. But it just has to be made because that's how the system operates. It's based on infinite growth. And we live in a finite system. So this capitalism then becomes a cancerous model that will eventually destroy the world. And I think we're seeing some of that right now with the tremendous amount of pollution, some of which is in India and other parts. Like, for example, you can go out at sea and then you'll see plastic bottles floating around. So, but anyway, that quick aside, the Venus Project is the idea of the Venus Project is to promote resource-based economics. And what we're doing, GlobCal Green Mission, is in step with that ideology and that global vision, which is to develop economic system in parallel with the current model of capitalism, in parallel with it, that's going to help people become more self-reliant, develop stronger, more resilient communities, and promotes public health, reducing waste, reducing pollution, and sort of reversing the adverse effects of climate change through the reduction of that pollution. And that's what we're trying to achieve. But coming back to GlobCal Green Mission, that is currently our objective, is to start with, as Professor Goswami said, the smallest node of governance, which is the panchayat, and then starting from that grassroots in order to create to create systems and bring people together around utilizing unused resources to maximize their own public health, not taking handouts from Western Europe or the United States, but to actually develop wealth, because India is everywhere in the world is very wealthy in natural resources. It's just a matter of organizing people in order to maximize the benefit to apply their own personal labor to take advantage of what they have. So, and yeah, I hope that that's kind of an encapsulation of GlobCal Green Mission. But of course, there's much more to it. But that's I suppose the technical definition.
So Harakat and Professor Goswami, I love what you're doing. And I know that it's super exciting and fun and challenging to take all these amazing conceptual ideas and actually transmit them into reality, which is what you're doing. So explain to me, like, if you're in India and you get into a village and you're going to work on the education, I'm going to ask you a few questions you can answer. I'm going to ask you like three. What kind of education are you trying to provide? Is it education on the environment, how to grow, how to produce, business-wise, how to distribute, to connect in, to find those markets? And then once you do that, do you go in then and say, look, this is an agricultural area where you could do a lot with certain types of vegetables, or you were mentioning fruits or mango or whatever it might be. And so do you go in then and say, look, we're going to help educate you. We're going to help utilize this land. You've got 500 acres that we could put into a really amazing, part of it could be farm, part of it could be forest. Like, can you break that down like step by step, kind of what that looks like, and then how that becomes sustainable? Because it seems to me that once you do that, you can start connecting all these villages or all these areas together. And as you do one small one, as you get more, they all become interconnected and thus become more powerful. Can you kind of just give me a little bit more detail on how that gets started and exactly what kind of information that is?
Yes, as I have already I have already stated that
Yes.
it should run with an enterprise. It is one kind of business also, but that kind of business where the local resources, already existing resources, will be utilized to a large extent. And we can start side by side one thing in the schools, as we have a book bank, book library. Likewise, we should have a seed bank in every school and educate every student starting from 5 years how to deal with the seeds. It is in seeds we call it is the Brahma. Seed is itself Brahma, the big one, the biggest one. The we call the ultimate reality, the Brahma. The seed is also Brahma, and the word is also Brahma. So seed, how to start dancing and singing with seeds. We know how to manage books. It is very arid sometimes, but we should start dancing with seeds, and later on it can be converted with a program which will end in which will oh, what is going on doing? Only the host can share in this meeting. What is, I don't know. Are you getting me? Hearing me?
Yes.
Yes, yes. So, uh, so uh, it will end in earning while learning project. In each school, a little bit they will start earning. And in the vicinity or in the villages particularly, there is huge land. They do not know how to handle them. For thousands of years in India, there was a complementarity of agriculture and animal husbandry. But nowadays, it has become conflicting. Agricultural land has got extended to a large extent. Everywhere we have expanded agricultural land, and there is no grazing field. So the goats and cows mm, are kya, I should say, plunging into what key, or at the time they are plunging into the paddy fields or farmland. So we should make the arrangement of those animals, just making fodders. Fodder making would be our primary goal first. Then everything will start growing. Everywhere we can have what we want to do. So this problem they do not know. Maybe few people know, but how to start doing, they do not know it. If we approach every schools, the primary and secondary schools, we go on talking with them, with the teachers, then they will understand how to do it, and we should have some strength on ourselves to provide some help to the schools so that they can start doing something with that. So we just have the support of the governing machinery. We don't have to put any fight with the existing system. Being with the system, we can break everything. But if we start struggling with them, against them, then there will be a big zero. So we can start with them that it is good for all. Everyone will be very happy, very delighted. Those unutilized resources that is already with them will get utilized, will start utilizing. So in that way, with the school system side by side with the enterprise, we can make a huge scope for making the greenery first, and then when it will start producing, we will start making some processing units in what area, which will be mm, uh, the best possible alternative of alternative production. That can be somewhere it is we don't have paddy, we have only wheat. Or somewhere we don't have paddy and wheat, we have maize. So many things can be made there, and the mid-term and long-term agriculture, that is the fruit forest, can be done there everywhere. In that way, primarily, we can make huge asset for the community. And we are talking about global market. Yes, we will be talking and we will be making global business. But in the grassroots, there will be a human business, human relationship and business relationship. Those are not going side by side. It is pole, they are pole asunder. One is going to kill the other. So our objective would be to make the balance. How to make that finer balance? That would be a spiritual approach from us. With the people who will be with them, they must love us. They must start loving us. They must stop being with us. We are not an exploiter to them. We are one of them. In that way, if we become, we can be exposed in that way, they will do everything. All the rest will follow. So I can stop here.
You want me to jump in, Sean, at some point because we're running believe around an hour or so right now when Professor Goswami jumped on. So we can carry maybe a couple more minutes. Is that okay, Sean, if I make a couple of comments to try to weave this back together and then set some type of action plan that we can go into motion in real time, like on a daily basis, updates and whatever. So Sean, what's the plan to wrap this particular episode up? Go ahead.
But please repeat the question.
You're
I couldn't
muted.
get it well. Oh, I am muted.
Yeah, I was muted.
Oh, no, sorry. Sean was muted.
I was muted, Professor. I'm sorry. But
Am I audible?
no,
Am I
you're not
audible?
muted. No,
Yes,
you're
you
not.
are.
You're good. You're good.
Okay.
So, but David, I was going to ask a couple of questions and throw it back to you. Maybe we can wrap it up and go another 5-10 minutes and call it an episode. Professor, and with Harikat, I could imagine that people would love you. I mean, it's like technically, you're bringing a lot of love and compassion, and then you're also going in to show people how to make their lives much better, and bringing in a whole upgrade for villages and places with all these different things. I love what you were talking about with the seeds, because the seeds themselves are the nature of where it all begins. What is the village, or what is the areas in India where you've started kind of working on these projects?
In the eastern part of India, but our university where we have been working It is in the northern part of India.
Okay. Beautiful. Yeah, and I can imagine that, Harakat, when you and I want to say Maharaj, but when you and Professor Goswami come in, there's going to be a lot of people. I mean, that's really the nature of India is uh, honoring, knowledge and honoring those that, have all this knowledge. So that is really amazing. David, I'm going to throw it to you. You're on mute, just so you know. But if you want to chime in here and throw any feedback, then we can wrap it up maybe over the next five minutes or so, if that's good.
Yeah, I think we can really surgically kind of put a ribbon or a bow tie on all of this. Professor, you've done such wonderful work. Thank God for the things that you do for humanity. Yes, yes, yes. And that's what we're going to say. There's so much that you have said, and also Harakat, that is so correct, but it's still not united, in my opinion. This is an opinion, but this comes directly reflected from Jacques Fresco and his desire to actually create, not create, but live like in the moment. There's not futuristic. The things that Jacques Fresco did and the things that Harakat can talk probably better than I can, because I believe he actually went to the facility there. I never went there. I lived a lot in Florida, but I never went. I was in Orlando and what have you. But anyways, the things that Professor just mentioned, some of the difficulties are not challenges that are not already solved. We already solved 99% of what we've been talking about is solved. But like I think Professor even mentioned himself, it's a matter of us realizing that we know what we know. So that's the conscious behavior, cognitive behavior that we're talking about here. And the hibernation festival is something I'm going to focus on. I don't know. Can you still hear me, or am I
Yes.
off?
No, you're
Yeah.
good.
Can you
Yeah, we
still?
can.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I was going on. I don't know where it ended. It's kind of, and this is unedited, so there's chops. It's waves, different waves. We're riding. We're surfing right now, everyone, and it's wonderful to be together. We need to come to some closure. I had a pretty lengthy discussion with Harakat, and some of the things he doesn't realize the power, and nor does Professor Goswami. I don't even think Sean, you do, and Mel Carmen and Fabiano Diaz and Daniel Cunningham, and I don't know if people realize the importance of what we're talking about when we talk about time equity and a time credit system. Because Dr. Goswami was just mentioning, how do we involve all Indians, whether it's a political party or not, whether you're poor, whether you're rich, whether you know what I'm
We
saying,
should
you
not
live.
bother about involving all Indians, but in a
That's
small community, all the people, how we can embrace lovingly.
right. Well, the point is, Professor, is now we've had several private conversations. This is the first recorded. This can be like a mini doc series. You can make clips of this. It doesn't have to be my talking, but if I ask a question or if I'm making a point and it's related to something that you and Harakat just mentioned, and I'm an analyst. I analyze projects. I don't want to. I was always independent. So I never really sold my soul to any company. I worked. I earned them lots of money. So I paid. I was always in sales. So I was never really in a cost center. I was always making money. So for me, making money, all it comes down to right now is the public relations strategy and the integration with a dynamic guerrilla marketing campaign that just blasts out your message and blasts it out of the water. And Professor and Harakat, the way you do it is a combination of the artificial intelligence that Jacques Fresco talks about a lot, but he also blends it in with the natural. But his first thing is engineering and design and building structures and the vacuum discrepancy and how we have all these alternative transportation modes and how these cities of the future are not going to be a dense populated city. These cities are going to be like villages, or what we do actually, I build floating islands. Okay. So off of this is for real. And I take all the garbage, the plastics, and we make Lego blocks. And we reprocess that material and create these floating islands. And this is a very important project for the Philippines, Indonesia, and elsewhere with climate change, ocean level rise. These islands are low-lying sandbars for the most part. They have coconut trees mostly. We know it's paradise. It's on the equator and what have you. But these are threatened areas, and that's what we're already solving, some of these issues about society and issues with climate change and issues that go in a holistic fashion. Because what I'm learning from the conversations I've had now between both of you separately, and now groups, and now on this recorded session, which is public. So this is open, unscripted. None of this is planned. But life in general is not planned. And one of the things I think you or Harakat talked about was about zero, coming to zero. And we encourage that. See, this is the economy. Like Professor, you mentioned yourself, it's kind of upside down where you feel the political balances. It needs to be maybe not totally corrected the other way. It would be better to balance it like a scale, like the scale, the idea of coming to that vector equilibrium. See, now we know the science, we know the neurological behavior. We've mimicked what it is, everything about our blood and everything, DNA, telomeres, all the way quantum physics and the CERN and the CERES project here in Brazil. And so what I'm basically trying to close on, and I know that I get worded here and I'm a little bit long, but what we're trying to do, it's great that Harakat's back on, because that repetitiveness, even though he's not really talking too much, he's coming in. And he can do search engine optimization and take clips, and we can work together. So if he doesn't have a staff, or he doesn't have not even a staff like internal, I'm talking about like people that can give time. Basically, that's what we're talking about. If everyone can give their time and get a time coin, then you're going to give your time to the people that you want to give your time to. But 24/7, you have that freedom, that luxury. And like in this call right now, you're not paying us, we're not paying you. And hopefully this is going to go viral, or at some point however, we're going to click. We're going to find that last piece to fill in the gap so that there's no more leakage, and that the holistic model of optimizing everything scientifically and naturally is there. The total intelligence is what we're talking about. And that's what the Hibernation Festival is going to do on the 21st of this month, coming up in less than 3 weeks. On a Friday, it opens. It's 8 days and 7 nights. And so it's an annual event that's happening right before Carnival. So it's a preparation for us to come into the community. It doesn't have to be a lot of people. It's not like Rock in Rio or some, like Samba or something, a parade, but it's designed to kind of go through fasting, get balanced, centered, do earthing, talk about all different subjects, including the GlobCal, the Green Mission. And I spoke at one point with Professor Goswami, and I had said basically what I'm about is the Blue Mission. So today's proposal is that we can combine the Green Mission and the Blue Mission. We can deal with the land and also producing the fruits of the ocean, which is seaweed and algae and all sorts of, in our condition here in front of the island, we have a perfect an area already protected that we can do economic development, we can do science, and we have a title. So the things that maybe Dr. Goswami is trying to make happen in India actually would be easier to make it happen here, just as a prototype model, and having a discussion, a portal. So like this podcast, this World Impact News channel, the WIN channel, could be a regular show, so that you could have, or it doesn't have to be you, Dr. Goswami. It could be, your whatever the show is going to be called. That's the whole thing. You can invent it. It probably doesn't already exist. And I would hope it doesn't, because that's what we're trying to show people. when we create together, we trust each other. So there's no expectation. This call is wonderful, and it's the next step in us coming together to have actionable results. And Sean is here to help. He's already involved in India with hospitals and this high tech technology, and he's with these quantum physicists and scientists as well as I am. So it's a matter of connecting the neurological, the hub. Like you said, it's the seeds bank. And then you said it's the one seed, it's the big seed, it's the one seed, and then the other seeds come from that seed. And that's what we talk about, the 0 point field, and what we call 0.00 absolute, which is in the center of the 0 point field. And that's what's the importance, because people can get to the Dr. Goswami and people listening, and Harakat, I even mentioned this. If you come to the 0 point area in the zero field, it's darkness. There's nothing there. You're there. You're consciously there, but you're not. You're floating like in like a purgatory, in the sense that you're you're not doing anything. But when you come to that center of the zero, that's where the light is, the pure light, the biophotonic light that we use with the technology that Sean and other scientists now realize. That's where all the growth comes from, is that 0.00 absolute. And technically, even plants, we don't have to eat any food, Professor. Technically, every seed has that plasma bio signature, and they're cataloging these Hertz scales that are almost unmeasurable. Then they're less than 0.0, and then 100 zeros, and then a one. As far as error, the first error, it could be even trillions of zeros. And so it's just the supercomputers now are just taking over. And so the physical aspect of gardening is something that, with Eric Mathis in the Victory Gardens, they're not so much into the AI like I am, and maybe like you are. You're more in the physical sense of these universities, education, community centers, and the physical development of places, communities. The work that I do and the complement that I do, and I think Sean as well, more technical. We're technical experts and consultants that normally would be extremely valuable. Most people wouldn't be able to afford, not because we like Sean or the attorneys that we deal with, intellectual property, cybersecurity people, all AI, Team Red, Team Blue, and it goes on and on. So I'm mentioning this stuff to both you and Harakat because this conference is focused on the artificial intelligence and the natural intelligence combined. That's why when you come here, it's not a typical like AI summit. It's like a world's fair. And when you come here, it's like Silicon Valley would be like, I've never been in San Francisco, but the energy culturally, when you come here for that week, people are talking about issues like even controversies. And we're going to cover everything with the show with Sean Callahan and the World Impact News WIN Network. So
hey,
what's
David,
happening?
David, do you mind? I want to try to wrap it up by the middle of the hour, and I want to give Harakat and Professor Goswami. I want to give you like a last word, and then we're gonna. But the one thing with what David's saying and Professor, and with Harakat, this is an ongoing platform, so it's hard to put everything into 1 hour, so to speak. So this might be ongoing. I would love to share I would love to share footage of the villages. I would love to share footage of you in the work, going out into the communities. I would love to share footage of the agriculture, the people, the knowledge. Like I want to see this involved, visually too. And I hope that at some point between you and Harakat that you can share video clips, because being a person who is very deeply loving with India, knowing a lot about Indian culture and Vedic culture. India has always been, the source of a lot of different things. And for you, Maharaj, with being in this whole thing with Harakat and bringing this is, something that I can see going global. So with that being said, Harakat, why don't you like give us some final words, and then Maharaj or Professor, I'm going to go ahead and let you give some final words, and then we'll wrap this up. And I want to get I know I've got them, but maybe David, you could send me the links again. So for anybody that wants more information on these projects and what they're doing, they can go down below. And we have a huge audience in India too. So I'm sure there's a lot of people in India that would be very interested in seeing what you're doing and possibly be able to volunteer or help in any way they can. So thank you very much for taking your time to be here today. I'm very grateful. Go ahead, Harakat.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I apologize.
go on, Harkat. Go on, Harkat.
Yeah, to give kind of like a final thoughts here. What regarding what you mentioned, like a lot of this this is entirely people driven, and one of the things that we're actually looking to do is to create more content. Right, like so nowadays everything is, I mean, everything's always driven by people and the activities that they do. We want to create content. We want to create these videos that you're talking about, as far as people actually working together in the field, growing things, agricultural work, and so forth, and to actually show what it's like, on the ground. It's one thing to talk about it in this kind of setting, but it's another thing to actually do it and to actually see, people toiling together to create, to do agricultural work and to create fruits and vegetables, and then, and work in animal husbandry. And I think that's an important part of it, and we will be working to create this content, to put it forward, and to actually be more involved in social media, and to drive attention, because all of this will be driven by attention. It will be driven by people coming to us to take part physically and monetarily, and to assist in the development of GlobCal Green Mission. So that's all I'm willing to say, and I'll let Professor Goswami sort of close it out.
My last word is that David was suggesting to start it elsewhere. If it can be experimented in other areas like in Brazil or in Mexico or in somewhere else, then you can try it out there. We can go on giving you suggestions, and what will be the problem, we can sort it out. And also you can go on with your own light. It is whatever we have written or told is incomplete. This is our one of the weaknesses. And also we have a strength here, that so far as we have told, it can be recreated by others. So others have something to do here, to add here, to edit here, and make it anew. So anyway, you can just develop one kind of three-share economy to find each and every one getting involved. Everywhere you can start doing this in a small way. Here it should be divided into three. There it should be divided into three. In that way, everyone will go there. And in three, there is a rhythm of reality. The Holy Trinity you have, and in India, everywhere there is three, three, three. Though we practice or we contemplate about oneness, one, but in a way of three is there. And David must be knowing it better, that in the physics, there is also three. The electron, proton, and neutron. And with these three, there is one unity also. So these three can be explored at each and everywhere, so as to make it for each and everyone's, to involve and touch each and everyone. Just start making a rhythm of three. That will that can create something better, you will explore it. Go on explore it playfully. Just go on exploring it. So I don't know the reality there in your countries, but if I can see from video, I can guess something. I can suggest something. So let us be explorative more in that way also. Very good. This is for today.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Professor Goswami, David, as always, and Harakat. Thank you, as always, for all your time. We will look forward to seeing you again very soon. And don't forget Hibernation Festival, February 21 to March 1st. Thanks again for everybody coming on today. I look forward to seeing you again sometime soon.